Hi people, thank you for joining me on this another fragrance video. And in this edition we're going to revisit something that was done many years ago, a very popular fragrance trend, and that was the concept of 10 designer fragrances for life, toss out the rest. Now if you don't know the history of this was a tag video back in late 2017, early 2018 I would say, so probably about 5 years ago, it's quite a while ago. And most YouTubers who do fragrances were tagged in this. They produced their 10 fragrances that they could not live without if they had to get rid of the rest of their collection. I did my video at the time, had a few in there that don't make the cut anymore, like the original Acqua di Profumo and weirdly 1 Million, which have a love-hate relationship, but it was a fantastic fragrance, so I sort of reluctantly included it back in 2018. It doesn't make the cut this time around. So we're going to look at 10 fragrances now that I would keep if I had to toss out all the rest. They're not in any particular order, and again, because we're going through 10 fragrances, we're not going to go into minute detail on each one. We're not going to go through perfumers, the history, we're not really going to go through note breakdowns. It is going to be a high level overview of these fragrances. I'll give you my 2 pennies worth on why I love them and why you may love them also. So anyway, let's kick things off with one that I've also had a love-hate relationship with over the years, but as I've got older I've come to appreciate it much more. It is a very masculine, very mature scent. This is an older version as well. There is a newer version out which I don't believe is quite as good, and it's this bad boy here. Just get that in focus. It is Eau Sauvage Parfum from the house of Christian Dior. As I say, it's a mature scent. Probably not aimed at teenagers, people under, I would say under the age of 35 realistically, but if you want something masculine, something strong, because this is strong, something that projects and also gives a real sort of boss level air of confidence, then this is an excellent choice. Moving on to another fragrance that's quite out there, has been reviewed by myself recently. I say reviewed, I did 5 reasons why you should buy it. Sadly discontinued. Great boozy fragrance, great winter fragrance. It is of course Pure Malt from the Amen line by Thierry Mugler. I believe this was in my original 2018 video. I can't remember off the top of my head, I've not looked at the video for a long time, but it is a fantastic fragrance. Prices for this are skyrocketing currently because it's been discontinued, so it's one that if you can get your hands on for a fair price, I suggest doing so where you can. This next one's going to be a bit of an opinion splitter, but it is one that I absolutely love. Now, it is one that's a bit harsh, a little bit synthetic. People say it smells like baby powder, and it's Ferragamo F Black by Salvador Ferragamo. As I say, it's not one that's going to appeal to everybody, but I found with this, weirdly, you do get a lot of compliments. It's quite strong, it lasts a long time, and it's also relatively inexpensive, and I've just really loved it. And I know it's synthetic, and I know that it's a little bit polarizing, but taste is what taste is, and I've always liked it, so it's in my list. Coming on to one that's been compared to a number of drinks, Vanilla Coke, Cherry Coke. It's a flanker from a well-known line. It's a really good sort of orangey, ambery, warm, even partly Christmassy fragrance, and it's the best in the line from my opinion, and that is Armani Code Profumo. Now this has been out for a while, came out probably about 5 years ago, and if you follow fragrances you'll know that Armani Code flankers are 10 a penny. There's a new one released pretty much all the time. They often don't differ that much. They're based on that same original Armani Code DNA from the mid-2000s. This I think takes it in a different direction. It gives it some nuances, a little bit different, and you don't really feel the DNA as much as you do in the other ones. This kind of could be in a fragrance in its own right. I absolutely love it. As I say, great warm fragrance, very cuddly. Best in line for me from the Code flanker range. Next up we're going to have one that's relatively cheap. It's one we all know. You've seen it everywhere, it's been out since the dawn of time. Released back in 1998, still sells heavily today. Great apple fragrance, apple pie, sort of warm apple pie. We all know it. It's Boss Bottled. Now, you probably think me including this scent on this list is absolutely bonkers. But it's just a scent that's always worked for me. I've said in the past, this is actually the one scent that gets me the most compliments of all. I can't put my finger on why, it just does. Even though it's been around, and you know, your mum, your dad, your gran, your uncle, your auntie's boyfriend, your auntie's boyfriend's cousin's hairdresser have all probably worn it, all smelt it. Maybe not your mum and your gran, because it's a man's fragrance, but you get the picture. The whole world has worn this fragrance at some point. Everybody knows it, very common, but it hasn't suffered in the way that common fragrances have, in terms of it's not been polarised, like it's not been ridiculed like your Sauvages and your Le Mals and your 1 Millions. Continues to sell. Couple of reformulations. I don't think it's quite as good as it used to be, but still a fragrance that I've got a great love for. Hence why I've got a new 100ml bottle. Going back to the more darker wintry fragrances, again, one I absolutely adore. Worn this quite a lot recently, and I'll be wearing it quite a lot as we come up to the colder months. It's the EDP version of Gentleman by Givenchy. It's just a fantastic dark sort of wintry fragrance, great projection, fantastic longevity, not particularly expensive as well. I think the whole range is pretty good, although there is one, I think probably more the original Gentleman goes more on the older school, mature side. This is more modern, but also, like I say, a greater, darker, wintry scent. On the subject of scents that you can rock this winter, scents that cut through the cold air, that make you noticed, we don't get much better than this one. Spice Bomb Extreme from Viktor & Rolf. I've done a recent video on this. I think if you know this fragrance, it really speaks for itself. The original Spice Bomb was fantastic. This just takes it up another notch. There's few fragrances that will get you noticed like this one, because it's strong, powerful stuff. I don't think I need to really say any more about it than that. This is kind of a new one, this next one. To me anyway, it's been out for a while, but a lot of fragrance enthusiasts really love this one. I'm just going to spray it and have a quick sniff. Oh, that's good. This bad boy. Azzaro Wanted by Night. Azzaro, I would say, not a house that makes the best fragrances. It makes lots of chrome that's been around since the dinosaurs ruled the earth. But occasionally they come out with a gem like this. Again, it's a flanker, the original Wanted. Came out probably about 2016. This followed a few years later. Again, it goes on the more richer, darker, warmer side. And it's just an absolutely lovely fragrance. I mean, you don't need to take my word for it. If you look on YouTube, you'll see dozens of reviewers all give this one the thumbs up, so I think that tells its own story in that respect. Something a little bit different comes up for number 9, so we're at the penultimate fragrance of this 10 fragrances to keep for life, designer edition. And again, it's a flanker. And it is Prada Luna Rossa Sport. This was launched back in about 2015, so it's been on the market quite a long time. Obviously flanker of Luna Rossa. But this has more similarities to a couple of other fragrances, so people will compare it to Le Male from Jean Paul Gaultier, but I think it's more like 212 Sexy Men from Carolina Herrera. Has that vanilla, lavender scent that you associate with Le Male, but it's not Le Male. It's more toned down, it's more refined, it has more class to it in my opinion. Not as in your face as the original formulations of Le Male was. It's called Sport, it's not particularly sporty, I don't think. This is more of a spring, maybe autumn scent. And in my opinion it's the best of this line, and Prada do make some fantastic fragrances. Luna Rossa Black is actually brilliant in this line. That would have probably taken its place in this top 10 if I owned it, but unfortunately I don't, so I think that's one I'll be putting on my Christmas list. And lastly but not leastly, we have the number 1. Now, just to point out, these fragrances have not been in any particular order. except this one, because this is numero uno. My signature scent, the fragrance I wear more than any other. I've gone through several bottles of this over the last few years. It's only been out about 6 years. A real heavyweight fragrance. Builds on the DNA of the biggest selling fragrance of all time, but has some patchouli, some spices, some different notes. Again, it's still light and summery, but it's more of a sort of summer nighttime fragrance. I think you know the one we're talking about. It is, of course, Acqua di Gio Profumo from the house of Giorgio Armani. This is just a magnificent fragrance. I know a lot of fragrance reviewers have spoke about this over the years. I'm just trying to get it in focus. I couldn't really tell you anything that's not already been said, but if you've not smelt this already, I suggest doing so. You can't go wrong with this. This is an absolute boss level fragrance. Fantastic compliment getter, great longevity for a freshie, and this is just, I'm flabbergasted now because it's just freaking awesome. If I had to make a video called Keep One Designer Fragrance for Life and Toss Out the Rest, well, this would be the one, because this is the best in my collection. I was an absolute lover of the original Acqua di Gio. I used to rock it all the time. That was my signature scent. This has superseded it because it's better. The original Acqua di Gio doesn't have the strength it had once had. It's gone through a number of reformulations. To my nose, this one hasn't. And yeah, it's still a beast. It's still worth having in your collection. Anyway, that's enough of me rabbiting on as always. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch my video. Please do like and subscribe. Please do check out my other videos as well where you can. That's very much appreciated. And I will be seeing you soon.